The cursed forest of Chiang Dao, the Wendigo's hunger and the black-eyed children's call. The village of Ban Mae Phrik, hidden in the remote shadows of the Chiang Dao mountains, had always been a quiet place. The thick forests surrounding it were said to be home to ancient spirits, creatures that no one dared disturb. But as the year crept toward winter, a sense of foreboding settled over the village. The locals whispered about something far worse than spirits, something born of hunger and darkness that lurked in the heart of the cursed forest. It began slowly, like a cold breath on the back of your neck. Children, strange and unnerving, began appearing at the edges of the village, just before nightfall. They came in pairs or groups of 3, their faces ghostly pale, their clothes ragged and old, as if pulled from another time. But the most terrifying feature was their eyes, black as the darkest void, soulless and haunting. Knocking softly on doors, they spoke in eerily calm voices, "Let us in. Please, we are lost." But no one could shake the paralyzing fear that gripped them upon seeing the children. Their presence felt wrong, unnatural. And those who made the mistake of letting them inside were never seen again. Villagers claimed to hear scratching at their windows late at night. Faint knocks echoed in the dead of night, followed by the softest of voices whispering in unison, "Let us in." When no one answered, the whispers would grow louder, until it felt as if the air itself was suffocating under the weight of those terrible voices. For days, people went missing, and strange, frozen footprints were found leading from homes deep into the forest. No one dared to follow. But something worse was about to come. The black-eyed children were only messengers, servants to something much darker. An old legend resurfaced, whispered by the elders who had seen too much. They called it the Wendigo, a cursed spirit that haunted the coldest places, driven mad by hunger. It was said that the Wendigo was once human, but had been transformed into a grotesque, skeletal monster after it consumed human flesh. Its hunger could never be satisfied, and it roamed the forests, feeding on the souls of the living. One moonless night, Kun Somkai, a seasoned hunter known for his bravery, stumbled upon something that would turn even his blood to ice. Returning from a trip deep into the Chiang Dao forest, he noticed 3 small figures standing at his doorstep, their backs turned toward him. His breath caught in his throat as they slowly turned around, their faces pale as death, their eyes black, empty voids reflecting the darkness of the forest behind them. "Let us in," one of them said, their lips barely moving. The air around them was unnaturally cold, colder than any winter night Somkai had ever felt. His heart raced, and a deep, primal fear clawed at his mind. "Go away," he shouted, backing away from the children, clutching his rifle tightly. But the children only tilted their heads, their black eyes boring into his very soul. Then, they whispered. A low, bone-chilling murmur that seemed to seep into the earth, the trees, the very air around him. And then, from the shadows behind the children, it came, the Wendigo. The creature was taller than any man, its body twisted and gaunt, skin stretched tightly over its bones like a corpse left too long in the sun. Its eyes glowed faintly, hollow pits of hunger, and its breath was visible in the freezing air. Its stench, a mix of rot and decay, hit Somkai with a wave of nausea. The Wendigo didn't lunge, it didn't need to. It moved slowly, deliberately, as if savoring the fear that rolled off him in waves. And behind it, the black-eyed children followed, their mouths stretching into twisted smiles that didn't reach their dead, empty eyes. Somkai slammed the door and bolted it, but the whispering never stopped. It was everywhere now, inside his head, in the walls, in the very earth beneath his feet. As he peered through the cracks in the shutters, he saw the children walking back into the forest, leading the Wendigo deeper into the trees. But something lingered in the darkness, a feeling, a presence, as if it was watching him, waiting. He knew then that the children were not just spirits. They were bait, drawing souls toward the Wendigo's endless hunger. The next day, the village was in a frenzy. More people had gone missing, their houses left abandoned with doors swinging open and candles still burning. In desperation, Somkai gathered the bravest men from the village, and they set out with torches and weapons, heading into the cursed forest. The deeper they ventured, the more the air seemed to thicken. It became harder to breathe, as if the forest itself was suffocating them. Shadows flickered just out of sight, darting between the twisted trees. And then, the whispering started again. Louder now, echoing all around them. They entered a clearing, and there they stood, the Blackeye children. This time, their pale faces were smeared with something dark, something that dripped down their chins. Blood. Behind them, a shape moved. The Wendigo. It stepped into the clearing, its hollow eyes glowing faintly, and the smell of decay washed over the men like a death shroud. Its mouth opened, revealing jagged, broken teeth, and it let out a guttural sound that was neither human nor animal. A sound that crawled under their skin and wrapped itself around their hearts. The children began to move closer, their black eyes locked onto the men, their hands outstretched. The Wendigo followed, its skeletal fingers twitching, its hunger palpable in the air. Somkai knew they had no choice. He grabbed a torch and set fire to the dry leaves beneath them. The flames caught quickly, rising up into the trees, casting long, flickering shadows. The Wendigo let out a horrific shriek, but it didn't flee. It stood at the edge of the flames, watching, as if mocking them, as if it knew it could wake them out. The black-eyed children stood behind it, smiling their terrible, hollow smiles. As the fire raged, Somkai realized the truth. The Wendigo was not just a creature of flesh, it was a curse. A curse that couldn't be burned away or chased off. It would wait, and when the flames died down, it would come again. And the children would return, knocking softly on doors, whispering in the night. And next time, there might not be any villagers left to resist.